All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Yours truly, Ken Johnson, is here with you, and we are tracking severe storms again today here. And so another day we've had this. I was thinking about this earlier. We've just had so many uh, thunderstorms, severe thunderstorms, and heavy rain events this spring. It's just been unreal how much of that we've seen, and pretty much every event for the most part this spring we are basically the same. Both of these have been these thunderstorms will develop. They'll either be linear or storm clusters, maybe a little supercell or two, and they'll mostly be hail and wind producers. And today is mostly a wind producing kind of day. Not even so much even a tornado. I mean, excuse me, even a huge hail day for us. It's mostly going to be a wind kind of day with these thunderstorms. And I will show you in just a moment what we got going on here. And then we can kind of go from there here. So, all right, let me go here and let me switch and share my weather computer here so we can see that. So, all right. Now I know a lot of people are at work right now, and we probably won't have a whole lot on. Matter of fact, there's not a whole lot going on across North Texas anyway. The activity is mostly up in Oklahoma, but there are some storms trying to develop across Northwest Texas, but they've been struggling a bit here. So if you look, there's your severe thunderstorm watch. And basically it's for mostly a line of thunderstorms developing at this time, producing some gusty winds and at least some hail threats here. And if we kind of take a look here at the radar, there is your thunderstorms. You can kind of see them lined up from northern Oklahoma. Actually, a couple of tornado warnings up here north of Oklahoma City, and I'll talk more about that threat here in a minute. You got storms through Oklahoma City itself, and then you go down here, and the line extends all the way into southwest Oklahoma and far northwest Texas, right along 287 there near Quanah. Basically, what you got is your front is these storms up this way are developing along the front. It kind of arches like this a bit here. These storms, and you got new severe thunderstorm warnings out now just northwest of Vernon and just east of Quanah. These storms that you see here are generating a pretty good outflow boundary. And that outflow boundary, and what an outflow boundary is, it's basically just rain-cooled air that's surging out ahead of the thunderstorms here. And then it's produced by those storms itself. And it's producing some really strong wind gusts up there in parts of Tillman County, and it's been in some of the Jackson County, maybe some down in Wilbarger County. And you also see other thunderstorms that have developed down here across North Texas. You could argue and say these are trying to take on some supercell characteristics, but we'll just have to kind of wait and see kind of what they do. You kind of see a little bit of that structure showing up there, kind of west southwest of Wichita Falls here. And if we do get supercells, and you have a better chance for hail, there's also some storms down here to the west of Throckmorton. So let's start by looking here at the thunderstorm warnings. You got basically some pretty heavy rain from about Snyder, Oklahoma, down to, probably just east of Quanah. If I put the enhancement on, you can really see the outflow boundary from that storm. You can see the little line there that's moving out. Looks like a little worm or snake. But anyway, there's your outflow boundary. And again, the radar, what it's sensing out of Frederick, it's right there. It's sensing a density difference. So you got this warm, humid air over here, and you got this all of a sudden sharp contrast drop in air temperature along that outflow boundary. So it senses that contrast. And when it does that, it shows up. You can see it as a little line there. And usually with outflow boundary, you get a shift in wind. Like you're out ahead of it, you'll have a wind out of the south, southwest, maybe southeast. And then along and behind it, the wind will turn around to the northwest, west and northwest here. And it's also usually is associated with some cooler air. The temperatures usually drop once it moves on through. The storms that are back behind it, again, they're heavy downpours, some smaller hail there from about Snyder through Elmer, northwestern parts of Wilbarger County. Now that outflow boundary is dropping to the south here, about to move through Frederick, and it probably will move through Vernon, probably between now and about 5 o'clock here. But again, as the outflow boundary pushes through, there might be some storms that develop immediately behind it. So that might be something you may see. And again, storms behind the outflow boundary will be what we call elevated slightly. So that means they're producing just some downpours and maybe some gusty winds and some smaller hail. Now, out ahead of it, we do got these storms here that have developed. You can actually see one up near north of Electra. It's kind of a small storm, but if you kind of notice, it's kind of elongated a bit, and you kind of have a little bit of these are kind of by themselves here, and it kind of has some little dents in it. you can almost tell there's a bit of an updraft to some of these storms here. What you want to look for with the supercell anyway, number one, you got to have enough wind shear in the atmosphere, and we do, to allow these thunderstorm updrafts to be able to spin here a bit. And you see that right there. You see now let me get rid of that there. I don't like that. So you do see a little bit of an updraft right in there. And then you might see another one in here. You notice how you got your updraft, and then your cloud, your storm looks kind of like that. These are the anvils. And the reason why they're facing in that direction is your winds throughout the atmosphere kind of dictate that. So at the Earth's surface, your winds may be out of the south, southwest, maybe here. Then you go up to about 20,000 feet in the atmosphere, and there may be out of the west, southwest. And then you go up to about 25, 30,000 feet in the atmosphere, and your winds may be more like this. So as a storm develops, it develops like that. It follows the wind patterns in the atmosphere here. So that's why you kind of see that look to it. Now, if we do have supercells and they can maintain themselves, that is, then you got a chance for some larger hailstones that can develop. Now, those storms are in that one there that's in southeastern parts of Wilbarger County is really trying to take off a bit now. And it's headed towards the KMA area and then towards Iowa Park. The one up north of Electra, it doesn't appear to be blowing up too fast, but it might cross the Red River there and move up there into Tillman County, maybe impacting Granfield, those areas. The main threat with these cellular storms, again, downpours, some gusty winds, and maybe some hailstones. Now, the atmosphere today isn't super favorable for huge hail like we've seen around Texas this year. But, you could still get some hail up to the size of ping pong, golf ball size, maybe with some of these storms if they can continue to be pretty intense here. We'll look at the winds here. And if you kind of take a look at the winds in the atmosphere with these particular storms, for a storm to, of course, with a supercell, the updraft spins. It's just how it happens here. And the greens represent winds blowing towards the radar. The reds will represent winds blowing away from the radar. And what I see here with the wind motions in this atmosphere here is these winds are blowing like this. These are blowing like these. This would tell me, at least as of this update here, this would be more of a divergent signature, which would basically be more favorable and more indicative of like maybe a downburst or something. But, we got a lot of humid air in the atmosphere today. You shouldn't see many of those microbursts. So there could be, I suppose if I use my imagination some, there could be a little bit, it's hard to say, but there could be a little bit of broad rotation in some of these here, but it doesn't look like much. In my opinion, the only way to really get much of a storm to spin, you're going to have an outflow boundary. These storms are going to have to interact with that. And if we kind of take a look at things this afternoon, you do got the outflow boundary trying to drop in from southern Oklahoma. And as that outflow boundary interacts with these storms, it may cause them to rotate a little bit. So that is a possibility. I still don't think our tornado potential here is very high, and it's very low. You can see some pretty strong winds there coming in behind those outflow boundaries up there with those storms moving into Frederick. Some strong winds, especially we see that green color here coming in. That represents some pretty strong wind gusts. Let me see how strong they might be. So if we kind of take a look in here, these some wind gusts here could be into the 50 to maybe 50 mile per hour range there coming into Frederick. And some of these winds down here, some of these storms to the south are not as strong, but we'll keep an eye on those. Those are still just trying to get their act together here. Now we go up here to the west of Lawton, and there's some severe thunderstorm warnings there. Now this has a little bit of a kink to it as well. I think that's going to be right on the outflow boundary, or maybe just slightly elevated there. But if this storm, let's say this storm here across northern Comanche County, if it's able to kind of become a bit of a supercell. And sometimes when you get these little breaks in the line, you can get that. Then it can ingest that outflow boundary because it spins, and it gives it the chance to produce some type of little spin up there in northern parts of Comanche County. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. Other storms developing now north of Henrietta. And then you got some storms up here in Oklahoma City. And again, that's like a confirmed tornado up there now, well north of Oklahoma City, near north of Stillwater, into the Red Rock community here. Confirmed tornado up that way with some rotation showing up there on that. You can really see where the rotation was pretty good. But the way the atmosphere is today, if you do get a tornado, it will probably be pretty brief. Probably kind of a spin up type ordeal. So But we're going to keep an eye on that. I don't think that the chances down in North Texas are as good as even up there in Oklahoma City. But anytime we got a supercell, and they're kind of marginal supercells at best, trying to develop down here, and if they can interact with any kind of boundary, you might have a chance for something to spin a bit. But as of right now, that chance doesn't look particularly high. So Cameron is going to come in, and he is going to maybe chase a little bit this afternoon. I don't anticipate on sending him on any wild goose chases, but he may chase a little bit for us this afternoon. As these storms are kind of pushing on through. But overall, our main threats remain the same as what we were talking about yesterday and last night. Gusty winds, maybe a little bit of hail, but gusty winds are your primary concern with these thunderstorms, especially when you get these line segments here. And we'll see if any of these thunderstorms can interact with each other and cause maybe some of these collisions to take place, and maybe some small scale rotations here or there. But if that does happen, and it did happen to produce a tornado, it'd be very brief. And at this point in time, again, that threat looks very low. Severe thunderstorm watch for wind and smaller hail. Well, I guess you could get some moderate size hail too, but mostly small hail is our main concern here this afternoon. All right. Well, I have got to go and get ready for the newscast here. Of course, I am keeping an eye on these things closely for you. And if anything changes, I'll be sure to let you know. But in the meantime, I'm going to hop off and just kind of keep the eye on things, though, for you. And if anything changes, we'll be sure to let you know, and be looking for the updates throughout the afternoon and the evening. We'll